guys, how's it going? I've been thinking for a long time, like, what do I want to do if I want to do videos? I think that I've made a point to a lot of people that I know that this is not something that I like to do just because it doesn't feel genuine and it doesn't feel authentic to me. I don't really like to show off too much, but I do want whatever I'm making to be helpful to people around me and to people who don't even know me. So I took some time and I was really thinking, like, do I want to do this? Is this something that I want to do? It seems like a necessity when it comes to being involved in motorsports and especially drifting, because it's such a media-focused industry. And so, I thought about it and I was like, well, how can I make this something that I want to do and make it something that I'm excited to do all the time? And then I realized, I decided to put some ideas together of what I think that I'm capable of that's unique to me, or that maybe isn't out there very much. I don't really want to show like how-tos on how to work on cars or motorcycles, or explain kind of things to people, just because I think that there are people who are much better at explaining things than I am, and there's much more in-depth videos that I'm capable of producing for that kind of content. So, that was kind of out, and I thought some more, and I was like, well, do I want to talk about engineering and running a business? But again, I think that there are people who are much more successful in those fields than I am, that have put out information on those sorts of things. And not to say that I'm not successful in those, but I just, I don't feel like it's my niche to talk about those kinds of things. But I do feel like over the years I've had quite a lot of success in the stuff that isn't tangible per se, that isn't really a career field, that isn't something that you might assume right off the top of your head. But I've been pretty good at motivating people and or just talking through things with people, kind of giving people their self-confidence, and just having really good ways of putting stories to ideas of morality and things like that. So I know it doesn't sound like the greatest thing in the world, but I think that the people that do know me know what I'm talking about, and I've done quite a lot of things of this on Instagram Live, but that's only there for the time being, or if you post it, it's kind of gets buried. And so what I really wanted to do was use this platform to be a more permanent location for the messages that I put together, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. I'm going to try a few things and see if I like it and see if you guys like it, and I think it'll be a lot better than the stuff that I was trying before, and I think it'll be something unique for the automotive industry and for my kind of followers. So we'll have Tubbs here too when he wants to partake, and hopefully you like it. And we'll start the first one off shortly here. I'm gonna change the video over, but yeah. So I'm gonna start this one off with probably my favorite topic, and probably the most common topic that I end up talking to people about a lot. And it's really, I think it's like just the core of building self-confidence in general. I think that there's a lot of people who feel a certain way because they think something that doesn't exist. And so basically the idea is that people get embarrassed about being bad at something when they first start, or they give up doing something because they're not good at it right away, or because it's hard to do, or because they're embarrassed that they're not good, or they feel like they're being judged for not being good. But it's really funny because it's the easiest thing to kind of create stories related to. But my favorite part about it is that it's something that almost everybody feels, that, oh man, I'm doing bad at this, like, does that mean I should keep doing it? Does that, like, is everybody judging me for it? But the irony is that everybody knows that that's the truth of starting something. Everybody has started something and been terrible at it and eventually got good at it. We might be able to trick ourselves into feeling like we have natural talent, or we might be able to trick ourselves into forgetting all the mistakes and the fumbles and the just issues that we've had along the way. But the reality is everybody is bad at stuff when they start doing it. And so it's this universal truth that people are so afraid of. Just like, it's so funny that like people are embarrassed about pooping, and it's the same thing. It's like, like how crazy is it that you're embarrassed about something that you know for a fact everybody else in the world does? It's hilarious to me. So, really it comes down to just being aware that like that's normal. That's the way it is. And if you have to tell yourself, I'm not special, everybody messes up, everybody's bad at stuff, maybe that's a technique. Maybe you have to tell yourself that you're not special, that you're not the only one who is terrible at this when you started. But if it's something that you're passionate about, that shouldn't even matter to you. Your desire to do it should overcome your fear of judgment or your fear of not instant success. And so I really love to use the analogy from Adventure Time. I know it's a silly kids show, but it was something that I watched a lot when I was growing up. And you might put the numbers together and be like, well, that was when you were like a teenager. Like, so what, dude? I watched cartoons when I was a teenager. That's fine. But I loved Adventure Time. There's a lot of really good points in there. But my favorite thing about it was, I forgot what the context was, but there's a point where Finn is feeling a little bit down about something, and Jake goes,
dude, sucking at something is the first step towards being sort of good at something.
And I just love how like simplistic that saying is, because I don't think that anybody can disagree with it or not understand what it's talking about. I mean, that is the first step. You can't be good at something without being terrible at it first, because being terrible at it is what teaches you how to narrow down your path of how to do it. I don't think that anybody jumped in a car their first time and like, drove it down the street flawlessly. I don't think that anybody jumped on a bike their first time and rode it down the street without falling down. I definitely, I feel like no matter what it is, if you feel like you're an exception to this and you're like, oh, I'm naturally talented at something, well then great, dude. Like, that's awesome for you, but you would be the extreme exception. Everybody, I'll be real. Everybody is bad at something when they first started. And, it doesn't matter if it's something simple. It might be you're 25 years old and you don't know how to swim. It might be you're 50 years old and don't know how to use a computer. It might be that you're 18 years old and you still don't know how to do the math that you should learn in 6th grade. But that's fine, because we all have our own paths. And there's nothing discounting your path just because somebody else is a different one. Your path is still valid to you, and it's still just as important to you as anything else is to anybody else. I think that we need not to discount our own journeys because of other people's, but we definitely need to reward ourselves with each little victory, and I think that's what we have to look forward to when we do have that discouragement of being terrible at things at first. So, all this run-on explanation is to say that, if you feel like, oh man, I'm embarrassed because I'm doing bad at something, like, dude, you're on your journey. And that's all there is to it. You're on your journey, and the only way the journey is not going to go better is if you stop doing it. You could do anything for a long time, and I'm sure you'd find a way to be better at it. You see people who fold laundry a bunch, they get way crazy with their laundry folding techniques. I've been in manufacturing for a long time now, and my favorite part about it has always been working with people on the shop floor to see how they, subconsciously or consciously optimize their days, because there's no incentive for them to do something better or worse. They're kind of paid hourly, right? But they still just feel that need, that internal fire to optimize whatever they're doing. And we all do that with what we're doing, but it takes time to get there. Those people work 40 hours a week doing the same thing, and that's their fuel, is that they get to do it for 40 hours a week. So, I'm not saying drop everything you do and dedicate it dedicate 40 hours a week to doing whatever you want to do, but you definitely can't give up within the first 5 hours of trying something, within the first 10 hours, within the first 20 hours, within the first 100 hours. It takes a very long time to become an expert at anything, and again, embrace the journey and celebrate the little victories. If you have to, I think a really good technique for a lot of people is to document, like over document, maybe not even for the public, but for yourself, over document what you're doing and the steps that you're taking, so that at some point you can look back and even realize like, I feel like I haven't made any progress, but you can look back and go, oh man, just 2 weeks ago I was doing this, or just 2 months ago, or just 6 months ago, I was at a completely different point than what I'm at now. Okay, I recognize my progress. But again, the core of this is that you should never feel ashamed of taking your own journey and of just finding, you're navigating in the dark and bumping into tables and tripping over stuff. And that's fine, that's what everybody does until you start to build that map in your head of what it looks like. And until you start to get more tools or even know what tools are available to do the thing that you want to do better. I mean, most people who are experts at something, it's easier for them to do what they're doing at a high level because they have better equipment than you doing it at a low level. If you look at professional race car drivers, they have much better equipment than somebody who's just starting off with like a beater 240 or a beater Mustang. They have much better equipment, so it's a lot easier. They have engineers, they have teams that change their tires and their wheels, and they have crew chiefs that are dialing in the car for them, and they don't have to know all that or worry about that. But they didn't get there without paying their dues in the beginning. So realize it is kind of like a bell curve of difficulty as you go, because at the it's not even a bell curve, I think it's more like a downward slope. It's very difficult at the beginning because you don't know how to do it. And it gets a little bit easier, but it's still hard because you're using like less good equipment and you're still new and still unaware of like, you might be good with the current equipment, but then every time, scratch my my graph. Because every time you learn that there's new equipment, you're gonna elevate that difficulty level because you have to learn the new equipment. So all this to say that learning is a journey. Mistakes are inevitably part of any journey. If you get it right on the first time, it's a fluke. It's definitely a fluke. Like if you're good at something the first time you try it again, because it's very unlikely that it was actual skill. It might have been luck, but hey, if it is actual skill, that's awesome. Good for you. That's all I got. I know this video was just me sitting in a chair talking, and again, like, this is what I'm passionate about talking about. So, I think as I get more in the flow of this, I'll feel more comfortable with doing the rest of the stuff. Maybe I'll have some more incentive to share more. I would love to share more about the car and the build of this thing. I know there's a lot of people who wonder about this. I know there's 2 motorcycles back there that seem like they're collecting dust, because they are, but there's a lot of stories with those. There's a lot of stories about me and my journey out here and my involvement with certain things in motorsports and engineering and all the industries that I've been in. And through all this, I've gained a lot of experience that kind of gives me the reservoir of stories and anecdotes to portray the motivation that I'm trying to talk about. So if this does help you, if you feel some sort of positive message from this and you want to hear more, just give me some sort of feedback. If you know me, text me. If you don't know me, send me a message on one of the platforms. Even just a thumbs up on the video, a share, whatever it is. And I'm not saying this to pour myself out on YouTube. It's really just to say that's the only way that I know that this is doing something for somebody. It's hard to know the feedback, and that's really what I would like to know is what people think. And if you have suggestions for topics, or if you have suggestions that this room's too echoey or sitting on the floor is silly, please let me know. But I'm going to leave you with this, and I hope that this is a wonderful thing that I can share with people moving forward. Thank you so much if you stuck it out this far. I really appreciate it, and I will talk to you guys later.